Arrow Season 4, Episode 11, A.W.O.L. Now, just to get things going, obviously the big shock of this episode is the fact that they killed off Amanda Waller, and I didn't see that coming. I thought it was a pretty interesting moment for the episode, of course, because this is a character that's not incredibly important to Arrow as a whole. She definitely had, I think she spent the most time in the show in the previous season, and even that wasn't that much time. It was only in flashback. She was, I'm sure she was in some of the current timeline, but mostly it was flashback stuff. And it's like, man, she's far more important conceptually speaking than actually speaking as far as the series goes, because of course it's Amanda Waller and it's Argus, and obviously with the whole Suicide Squad movie coming out, Amanda Waller is getting even more recognition. And I thought it was just a crazy moment. It's like, okay, we have Lila, we have Waller. I thought the guy was still going to shoot Lila. I didn't think he'd actually kill her, but I thought he was going to shoot her in the stomach and be like, alright, well, you can say that you'd never give up the codes or anything, but talk is cheap, let's really put you to the test. And that's what I thought was going to happen. He would still shoot Lila, and that would even drive Diggle. It would have been an even greater drive, for Diggle. But instead it's like, oh, that's too bad. Boom. Suicide Squad's coming out. Boom, we gotta, get you out of here. And it was crazy. I did not expect that to happen. And I do believe it was because of the Suicide Squad movie coming out. And that's kind of why they don't do the Suicide Squad stuff anymore, because, back in the last season when we lost Deadshot, that was kind of the reason why. It was like they didn't want too much crossover. And we lost a good character then. I really like Deadshot. Actually, I like Deadshot a lot more than I liked the character of Amanda Waller. But, like I said, conceptually speaking, killing Amanda Waller is a much bigger deal than them killing Deadshot, because at least this section of Argus, within the city, that needs a new leader. They need someone to come in and take over for that. And I doubt it's going to be Rick Flag, if that's the guy's right name, and he's like the only good guy on the Suicide Squad team in the film, and basically that was Diggle's place in the previous season. So it's not going to be that character, I would assume. I doubt they'd do someone random, although they easily could. They could be better or they could be worse. Or it could end up being Lila, which I think is the most likely possibility. And it kind of makes me hate to say it, but that idea, which of course is complete speculation, I love that idea, and that's the only silver lining I could possibly think of for them killing off Amanda Waller in this episode, because Lila, and they even mention it in this episode, which I don't think they ever have before, with Amanda even saying, like, this is my most trusted person, basically, that I have control over. And that says a lot. And, that I feel like she might actually take over. And she mentions the reason she left, which we all knew, is because Amanda Waller kind of doesn't give a crap, or didn't, I should say. If you screwed up, she was just like, well, cut ties and you are just on your own. But Lila could change that. If she became the new leader of this sector, if she was actually given that position, or just decided to take it, it's Argus. Who knows the rules there. But if she chose to take it, she could really change the direction, at least of that section. I mean, Amanda Waller, I don't know, honestly, I don't know if she's like the head of Argus. I don't believe she is. And I'm pretty sure she's not, because even she had cameras on her in this episode, which is why she gave Lila, like the secret handshake with the flash drive. So there are other people, and they could choose Lila and try to convince her to come back. And if that does happen, we'd have Argus as a resource for Team Arrow, because Lila is, of course, full-on Team Arrow. She'd have to be a little careful about it, because of course she'll have people watching her, but she could utilize them as an asset for the team. Aside from that, it would just give Lila way more story, which I would love. I like Lila as a character. I think she's pretty cool, and we don't see enough of her. We see, she's here and there, just like the baby, who's like, when I saw the baby, it was funny. I was like, holy crap, it's actually been a couple months. The baby looked like a giant baby to me, because, she was so tiny the last time. It was kind of funny. I was like, oh, they have like a full, just like a big kid this time, so it was kind of funny. But, same thing. I mean, the baby, I don't expect the baby to be doing anything, but Lila is a grown woman, so I would like to see her have more of a role this season. I think she had an interesting role in the last season, And of course, before that, when they introduced the idea of the Suicide Squad and stuff like that. But it was really cool. It was just really fun, and the idea that she could actually take over, I think, is the greatest. Honestly, the only good thing that came out of them killing Amanda Waller, because as much as she was a pretty crappy character, she did help out the team. She did do certain things that she wasn't supposed to do, like this episode, to kind of give Team Arrow an edge up, and to I'm gonna be an asset to this team because I do want these people brought in. I'm officially speaking, I don't give a crap, but she cared enough to do the secret flash drive handshake, and that was kind of her thing. And in the flashback, she was just kind of bossy and bitchy a little bit, but at this point, she was a little bit nicer, tiny, minuscule amount nicer, but she was, and she helped out the team. So it does suck to see her go. It was an insane shock moment because there was no suspense or anything. Like, I didn't think, at least not suspense like that, like, oh, he threatened to kill someone. It was one of those things where I was like, okay, he's going to shoot her in the stomach. He'll shoot Lila to try to get Waller to, spill the beans and give him the codes. And then Diggle and his brother will come in. They'll save Lila. It'll, freak us out for like a little bit, but she'll be fine. And it was just, Lila's perfectly fine, but Amanda Waller is, dead and gone. And it was like an execution style. Like, it was right between the heads. She was just done, and that was it, and game over. So I had to get that out of the way because it was. I really did enjoy this whole episode. I can say that for sure. But despite everything that happened, that was the big moment, and not just because of the shock value, which was very high. Because even though this character, like I said, isn't the most important character, especially if you know the comics, it's Amanda Waller, and it's just like, she doesn't die. Like, that's just in my head. That's Amanda Waller. She does not die. She does not fault. She has got a lot of faults, but she does not fault her for anyone. Like, any of the heroes, it doesn't matter. I mean, she's obviously super skinny and, physically fit in this series compared to, like, the comic book version where she's, like, just a big black woman. But same attitude. She did what she felt she needed to do. And I like that I always liked her character for that. And it was just crazy to see that happen. Shock value, but crazy, crazy potential. I would love to see Lila get more screen time. I think that would be really cool. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. They might save that for next season and make A.R.G.U.S a much bigger deal than it has been, because A.R.G.U.S has honestly been the only reason we even give a crap about A.R.G.U.S is because Diggle's ex-wife was in it, and then so that's how they rekindled their relationship. That was really why A.R.G.U.S was there, and then they kind of added A.R.G.U.S to the flashbacks, which we knew was going to happen because even their very first introduction, when we first find A.R.G.U.S, she's like, oh, so you're still doing this, and she knew who Oliver was, like, immediately. So, we knew that was going to happen, which is still pretty cool. We might still get to see her in the flashbacks because he is still technically doing this mission for them during the flashback. So once he accomplishes this mission, depending on how he does that, I'm sure we'll get to see Amanda come back. Sadly, only flashback form. Excuse me, but I'm sure we'll get to see her come back towards the end of the season once he's accomplished his goal, on the island, finding the magic and all that crap. So, I'm looking forward to what they do with it. I doubt it's going to be nothing. I mean, that's a big deal. Like, it might not have its big effect immediately, but that is going to make some real changes for this show, and I'm looking forward to however they handle it. Hopefully they do it well. I have faith that they will, because it's A.R.G.U.S. You basically just need to have bad stuff happen and then send someone else out to do it, so it's not that hard. But I'm looking forward to that. But everything else I enjoyed as well. Diggle reconnecting with his brother, I really loved that because I was just like, finally he is not 110% mad at his brother, which certainly great foundation for why you'd be mad at someone who, was a bad guy, killed a bunch of people, did, drug running, stuff like that, faked his death. That would be the big thing, of course. Faked his death for years, left you as his brother, left his wife and his son. I can understand how you'd be so mad, but it was just like 100% with Diggle, and it was like it was honestly like he wasn't even trying to see where his brother was coming from, or that maybe he was brainwashed and stuff, which we do find out he chose to do a lot of stuff beforehand. But ultimately, as mad as, you know, unless you like killed a bunch of people that we knew personally, like if, you know, his brother killed a bunch of their family members, I kind of like, it's kind of rude to everyone he did kill who was, you know, innocent. I'm sure there were some, you know, some people had to be innocent, but it's like, man, unless you did that to our own family, I'd just be happy my brother was alive. Like, I'd be super pissed in the beginning. I'm sure I would have been the same way. At least, you know, at least conflicted. That would have been something. He was not even conflicted. It was like, you know, when he first found out his brother was alive, he was instantly mad. Even after they found out about the whole drug chemical stuff. Like, when he first figured it out, I was like, okay, makes sense. Super pissed off. He was fighting his own brother, and his brother decided to fight back. So, it makes sense that you'd be super mad. And then that same episode, it was like, oh, they're being, you know, mind controlled because of these weird drugs or something. And then it was like, oh, I don't care. Still super 110% mad at him. And that was before he got the file from Lance, if I remember right. I could have that out of order, but I'm pretty sure he got all that extra information after the drug pills, and it was exactly the same all the way through. So I was glad to see that just wash away by the end of this episode. It was very gradual, at least in the last episode. Everything else was 100% mad. The last episode, where they kind of focused on their relationship, was gradual, and then they were, you know, playing cards. And this one, it goes through piece by piece, and by the end, he actually brings his brother home. So I thought that was really cool. I was glad to see that happen. Who knows what's going to happen when they decide to tell his wife and child that he's been alive all this time, and that, you know, they all would have explaining to do, because it's like, oh, I knew he was alive, like, I don't know, 8 months ago. So no matter how they decide to play that, there's going to be some awkward conversations, but I don't think we'll get that until like the next season. Well, we still have 4 months, I guess, till the end of the season, so they might actually do that within the time frame. But I was just glad to see that was done. Like, he's okay with his brother. I mean, Lila was like 100% the whole time. Pretty much everyone else, you know, everyone except for Diggle was kind of just like, well, crappy stuff, but not dead. That's great. And Diggle didn't see it that way. It was just not dead, but did bad things. So, flashbacks were pretty cool, I think. You know, kind of so just showing what was happening, them working together, him realizing his brother never really changed, and then we got the guy from the island in the flashback as well, which made me wonder the time period of it. I just assume it was before he went to the island and ran into Oliver and everything, but it would have been interesting if that was during the time frame, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. It could have been, though. It easily could have been, but yeah, you would never know. Like, we still technically don't know even how much stuff they have on the island. We've only seen like a dozen guys with machine guns and some little huts. Like, we still don't technically know what technology they even have on the island, really, because they don't seem to use anything. It's like we just see guys in army fatigues, they have machine guns, and they have those little strung up huts, and that's it, and some maps. So, really no idea. I'm sure they have to have planes, or at least boats, because they're on an island, but I don't know. I thought that was cool that they at least somewhat tied it in. I didn't think they'd do that, because by the end of by the first time they showed it, honestly, as soon as they showed it was Diggle and his brother, I was like, okay, it's not going to be Oliver whatsoever, or even tie in with Oliver. And then it was like, surprise, it kind of does, not that it matters, unless that comes up. I mean, obviously whatever he got was either maps for the island or some random magical item, so we might see it come back, I don't know. But I thought their side of the storyline was cool. Felicity's side of the storyline, initially I thought I would be annoyed with it, because of all the characters to have that sort of hallucinatory former self, you know, type of moment, I didn't think Felicity was the one to do that for, because I honestly didn't think it would be entertaining. Like, when they first did it, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this, to be completely honest, because Felicity's former self was still Felicity. She was edgier, but it was still Felicity. I mean, there wasn't much to it, like different clothing, and, you know, she would hack stuff and, you know, put it out on the web for everyone to see, but down at the core, she's still kind of the same person. She just did good things in, less good ways in the past, and that was really it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this, and honestly, I kind of didn't, except for maybe two parts. And the only part that really involved her hallucination that I enjoyed was when she saw her hallucination while Oliver was talking to her, and they were both talking at the same time, and she freaked out. That was the only part I enjoyed because she was actually looking at the hallucination, and that kind of messed with Oliver. And he's like, I don't. He didn't realize, what was going on, and he thought he was just screwing up. So I liked that. That was like the one part I liked. That did lead to a kind of funny joke with Oliver when he was, upset and he didn't know what to do. And Laurel tells him, like, it's a bit of advice from someone who's dated you. Don't blame, don't put all of this on you. Don't blame yourself. And then they did that with Felicity at the end, and they were talking. She's like, I feel like you just blamed yourself. And he had this, like, for a split second, he had a look on his face like, man, I guess I do that a lot. And I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. I just thought it was pretty funny. But the only other moment that I really enjoyed out of Felicity's storyline is, I think it was the beginning of their conversation when Oliver first came home, and she was crying and stuff, and she was talking about how she can't walk and how she, can't drive, and she can't even just get up and go get a cup of coffee, and she was tearing up. I was like, that's what her hallucination should have talked about. And it's mentioned, but it's almost like the whole point of the hallucination was really, you're useless to the team. It wasn't like, oh, you can't walk. Like, that was thrown at her in her face, and it's like, oh, that's how you ended up here, helping out the team. But it wasn't, like, focused on the fact that she can't walk. It was just like, oh, you're useless to the team. And she was doubting herself and, doubting, as Oliver put it, her superpower, which is her brain. And I was like, I understand that being a really big deal, and it definitely was. She was freaked out when she messed up that, first time in the episode. But I'm like, that's not that big of a deal. She's going to get over that, and she's going to realize they need her, and she did. That's exactly what happened. But the walking thing is not going to be simple. Whether she's healed or not in the future, which we still don't know even from, the cemetery scene, whether she's healed or not, that's going to come up. Until she is 100% walking on her own, that's going to be a thing where she can't walk, and that's going to be in her head no matter what. Because as a part of the team, Felicity doesn't do anything but sit in a chair anyway. So that's why I was like, I feel like it should really focus a lot more on Felicity as a human, not Felicity Smoke as team, a part of Team Arrow, but Felicity Smoke as a girl who can't walk anymore. And I felt it didn't focus on her actual, just literally 24/7 life. It was just like, oh, you suck as a part of the team. And it just kept going back and forth like, you suck, and then Felicity would say she doesn't, and then her hallucination would say, oh yeah, you do suck, and that's how you ended up here working for the team and not being good enough and stuff like that. And it's like the only time they really seemed to focus on her walking was when Oliver came back and she was crying about it. And I was like, that's what I wanted that whole storyline to be about, was her dealing with way more than just, oh, I'm not fast enough on the computer or something. It's like, she can't walk. Like, it's a huge deal. And I felt like it was one scene and everything else was about her not being able to help on the team. And I was like, that's just not as entertaining to me. It wasn't as interesting. I did still enjoy it. And I really, honestly, as short as that scene was, I loved the scene. Just the 2-3 sentences she had about not being able to drive and not being able to move around and, get up and go get a cup of coffee from down the street. That was my favorite part of her entire storyline, because it meant so much more than Felicity can't help out the team. That's just Felicity Smoke, human being, who's paralyzed. And I enjoyed that much, much more. But I'm sure we'll get a lot more focus on it, because it's, like I said, it is going to be a thing. But I do kind of wish her hallucinations instantly focused on that, because she wouldn't have been able to get past that. I think that was probably the point of doing it, where it was about the team, because it would be a little bit devastating if it ended on a sad note. But things are dark. I mean, she's paralyzed. It's going to be dark no matter what, she decides to confront in her own mind. So I personally would have liked to have seen it. I think that would have been more entertaining. But overall, still a really fun episode. I mean, I just wish they did focus more on Felicity as just Felicity and not Felicity as a part of the team. Because she's always going to be a part of the team, unless she decides to quit. and she'll be good at it. Like, she has her, her superpower. She has her brain, and that's not going anywhere. So, just wish they focused a little bit more on her actually, her everyday life outside of the team rather than, oh, you suck as a part of the team. I was like, that kind of doesn't even make that much sense to me, but still enjoyed it. Glad to see Diggle, reconciling with his brother. Obviously, just blown away by them killing off A.W.O.L. I didn't see that coming, but really fun episode. Of course, want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and of course, gotta ask you guys what's gonna happen with Argus. I mean, Amanda's gone. Personally, I do think they're gonna have Lila take over. Either they're gonna bring in someone random first, or they'll go straight to Lila, and they'll probably bring in someone random first who is somehow worse, and Argus, whoever's above them won't give a crap, and they're just almost using Argus to kill people or something, and then Lila will take them out and she'll take over. Or they'll go straight to Lila, which I'd prefer, just to give Lila more time, because also, I mean, that just opens up a whole different world of things. Like, she'd get more time, probably more time with Diggle as a character as well, because of course he's going to care about her, even though she won't actually go out on missions, because Amanda rarely did. She only did it in the flashbacks, and that's probably because she wasn't in the same position. But if Lila took over, she wouldn't even be going out anymore. She'd just be making sure anyone who did was taken care of. So I hope that's what happens, and they don't just let Argus go, and it's like, oh, A.W.O.L died, and it's just gone. Because we do need a big organization. We barely have Hive in it. At this point, it's still just Amy and Dark. It's like, we saw some people, they don't mean anything. There's like some corn or something on underground. I don't know. But Hive isn't really much of an organization in itself at this point, which might happen next season. That would be really cool if they had to team up with Argus to actually take out all of Hive. That would be pretty sweet for the next season. But I want to know your speculations. Of course, what you thought in general about them killing off A.W.O.L, if you guys cared, didn't care, if you cared because you really love her character, or if you cared just because, I don't know, because you didn't expect it to happen. Why do you care, if you care? And of course, what you guys think about Argus. So please, want to know that. So comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.